The third type of cell is the osteocyte. And if you recall from previous lectures, cyte is going to mean a mature cell. So osteocytes were formerly osteoblasts that have become mature, and they are trapped. I don't like to think of them as trapped, but they are basically stuck in the matrix that they deposited around them. And this matrix has a cavity within it that houses these osteocytes, and these cavities are called lacunae. So lacunae house the osteocytes. Here's a nice image of an osteocyte with its cell body and its dendrites reaching out. Here you can see in this image, we've got these concentric rings or lamellae of matrix, and then within there are these lacuna, or these darker regions, which are the cavities that house the osteocytes. Canaliculi are basically little channels that are going to connect lacuna so that osteocytes can communicate with each other. The processes, or these dendrites that you see here of the osteocytes, are going to be able to reach into these canaliculi and contact the processes of other osteocytes. This allows them, the cells, the osteocytes themselves, to communicate. They can communicate through gap junctions, and their communication is going to consist of passage of nutrients or signals like ions. They can also have a passage of waste products between them. These canaliculi are also acting as sensors in a sense, because when there is stress, meaning like a physical stress on the bone, then these osteocytes produce these signals that are going to regulate bone remodeling and say, hey, we're starting to be more on our femur bone because we're walking more. And so we're going to send these signals out and say, hey, there's more stress in this part of the bone. Let's reshape or remodel this bone so that it can handle the stress of walking on 2 feet or 2 legs. And so when the osteocytes sense this change in stress, they're going to release these signals, these biochemical signals, and the canaliculi allow them to communicate with the other osteocytes this signal or this message for change. And this will allow for a shape and density change that's adaptive for the bone to happen, because these osteocytes are able to communicate with one another. Here is another image. I like to show different images of the same thing. You have the osteon, which is the entire complex here with that lamellae, the osteocytes inside their lacuna, and these little purple circles. And so they're able to communicate through those really tiny lines you see there, which are canaliculi. The osteoblasts and osteocytes, so again, these are those other osteoblasts, or the previous cell type we talked about, the generators, and the mature bone cells are osteocytes. Both of them secrete something called osteocalcin in an acute stress response. And this is actually an overall stress response, not necessarily just a physical stress response. And what osteocalcin does is it stimulates the pancreas to release insulin or secrete insulin. It also kind of puts the body on alert to insulin sensitivity, and this allows insulin to break down glucose. And that breakdown of glucose is going to give us overall more energy and promotes that availability of energy, or just that plain sugar, so that you can produce more ATP. So in this case, these cells are acting almost as a hormone to secrete osteocalcin.